Since this XML visualizer was created specifically for this course, it won't provide all the functionality that Android Studio supports. But eventually, in the problem set of this lesson, we'll get you into Android Studio so you won't need this website anymore. A link is in the instructor notes if you want to follow along. For this code, the text says happy birthday, so when I look at the device, it says happy birthday. Now let's try to change the text to happy birthday, Kunal. And then when I zoom in on the device preview, you see that it says happy birthday, Kunal. Now what happens if I try to change the width and the height? I'll pick some arbitrary values like 300 dp for the width and 500 dp for the height. And now in the preview pane, you see that the text view is a lot bigger. The text, though, however, is still the same size in the top left corner. Notice that for the width and height values of 300 and 500, it is followed by dp in each case. This is a unit of measure, like centimeters or millimeters, that we use to describe the size of views on Android, as well as the distance in between views. The unit dp stands for density independent pixels. Let me explain why we need that. Say these beautifully drawn rectangles represent different devices. They're the same physical size, but they differ in terms of resolution. This is a medium resolution device with a medium number of pixels on the screen, high resolution, and an extra high resolution device. When I say pixel, I mean a phone screen is made up of many tiny squares which are pixels, and they light up based on what you're looking at. So if I define the size of a view, for example a button, to be 2 pixels tall by 2 pixels wide, this is what it would look like on a medium resolution device. On a high resolution device, it would also be 2 pixels by 2 pixels, but it's a little bit smaller because there's a lot more pixels trying to be packed into this device. And then on an extra high resolution device, where there's tons more pixels packed into this space, this button is actually pretty tiny. I can barely tap on it with my finger. I have to use the edge of my finger or my fingernail to reach it. Just because I have an extra high resolution device doesn't mean I have a smaller finger. I still want to be able to tap the buttons on the screen. And that is why we have density independent pixels. I can define my button to be 2 dips tall by 2 dips wide. And this is what it would look like across the different devices. It's the same physical size, but under the hood, Android is mapping it to a different number of pixels. You don't have to worry about any of that logic. All you need to remember is that you need to define your sizes in terms of dip values. When designing your apps, we recommend that all touch targets, like buttons, should be at least 48 dips tall and wide. Notice that it says 48 dips and not 48 pixels. Otherwise, it would be really tiny on this extra high resolution device. This will make your app easy to use for everyone. So with all of this knowledge, I want you to try and change the text view code now. You're going to be writing your very first lines of XML. How exciting! So first, try to change the text in the text view, and then try to change the size of the text view. Then, I want you to try to create an error, sad face, and then I want you to undo it, happy face. Alright, so first we load up the web page that was linked in the instructor notes. We see that it's populated already with some code for the happy birthday text view, and then on the right we see the preview in the device. To change the text that appears here, we need to change the value of the attribute called Android:text. So in between the quotes here, we can change the message. We can change it to, happy birthday to my pet hamster. Then on the device, we can see that the text has now been updated. Woohoo! To change the size of the view, we can modify the width and height attribute values. So in between the quotations, we can delete that and change it to something like 250 dp. And then for the height, we can change it to like 450 dp. And now we see that the text view with the gray background is now a lot bigger. Cool. So the last part of the quiz was to try to create an error. So if I delete the / and the angle bracket, then I get a bunch of errors that show up on the bottom here. Also, the device grays out because there's no valid preview to show on the device anymore. These errors can help you fix your code, but since we know what we need to do to fix it, we can just hit Ctrl-Z to undo the changes we made. The undo shortcut is really useful to use, so it's Command-Z on a Mac or Control-Z on Windows. We can create other errors as well, such as deleting a quotation mark, and then we see the error down here. We can hit undo to make it come back. Or we can change darker gray to Parker gray, which apparently Android doesn't recognize, unfortunately. So we can just switch it back.